Welcome, everyone, to the ComedySportz Podcast! Introducing your host and my best friend, Christine Rollo Capriolo!
Hey, everybody, my loyal listeners, thanks for coming! Awesome. Thank you for being here at our live ComedySportz Podcast episode in Milwaukee Championship 2024. All right. We got a picture of me coming up. That was my workshop show in Madison in 1995. That was a while ago. And my first lineups I talked about in my episode, Mark Molnitsky wrote out the lineups, and they surprised me, and I was playing. That was my first pro show, October of 95. That was super awesome. So I wanted to review some of our episodes. How many of you heard the podcast before? Oh, that's wonderful. Well, for those of you that haven't, or I'm a teacher, we'll do a quick study review. We're going to quick review the episodes that we had, starting with Dick Chudnow. Picture it, Seattle, 1984. Dick is flying home from seeing theater sports in Seattle, and the stewardess, flight attendant, is saying the Packers score. And everyone in the plane starts cheering, and Dick says, "That's it, sports. Make it about a sport." And that's how it all began, people. And then Bob Orvis got hooked on improv falling on the stage in the Jewish Community Center show. Brian Green has no earthly idea why he likes improv, but he loves to cook. Bo Johnson, episode 4, talked about a crazy audience story. Jack and Annette went out for a fish fry and ended up in a bathtub, some weird thing. Paula Foley ended up getting the yes and tattoo on her. Good life lesson. Who's got the yes and tattoo? I know it's more than one. There you go. There you go. I got some hands. There we go. All right. Diana Delaney isn't nervous on a stage in front of thousands of people, but she's terrified to officiate a wedding. We got Patrick Short. He loves musical games, but not to do Run Run. He just doesn't get it. Joe Cortese is the reason I blame Joe Cortese for bringing 185 to ComedySportz. Kurt Scholler performed a 3-person in a prison. Mark Molnitsky read 50 Shades of Grey for pop culture research purposes. Jeff Kramer, if you really want to piss him off, in front of a crowd full of 13-year-olds for a birthday party and a motorcycle gang, go ahead and play Shakespeare. He'll really be pissed. James Bailey, ask him to do his Christopher Walken impression. Don't. Brian Capel opened a lounge for laughing lizards. Somebody remembers that? Holly Ignatowski played a memorable game of moving bodies. If you haven't heard the story, you have to go back and listen. Mamma Mia Roberts says, "What are you doing?" Says, "What are you doing is an exercise, not a game. Discuss." Wasn't me. Rolly Cafaro loves to play day in the life Shakespearean style just so he can insult the size of my boobs. He does every time. Mark Redlick thinks he's weird looking. Tom Clark loves Steve Martin, big influence of his, but doesn't want to meet him. PJ Rockwell always carries a spare flashlight. Dave Bogan can speak gibberish like nobody's business. Dick Chudnow, I had him on for the start of season 2, and he became artistically impotent and won't draw to this day. Mike Rock has a weird relationship with Pizza Hut, so he started hanging out with Wendy. Peter Alberts had to wear a cast for 6 months after performing a show in Madison. Al Oldham can't do accents, but he commits like no other player you've ever seen. Me, I can recreate the Thriller video in 30 seconds or less. Dave Godet can dance wearing a Mylar suit. Tim Higgins has absolutely no shame, trust me. Beth Malusky hates a group project at school. Dave Nelson, my lovely husband, He's played thousands of shows and probably changed just as many diapers. He's a wonderful father, my husband. Matt Elwell loves the completely made-up game Hey Morty. I don't know. Braun, our UK friend. She taught us in the episode that crumpets are a bit rubbery. I don't know. Alan Guskowski knows what he did wrong for the first 3 years. Mike the Mouth Couth wants you to know he's on your side. And last but not least, Miss Courtney Pong she would rather be a mermaid just so she can talk to the fish. Those were our episodes, my loyal listeners. Thanks. Well, let's bring out our special guest for today. I know you're all dying to meet him again. He's starting off our 3rd season with us on the podcast. Mr. Voice, tell us who we got.
And now, your very special guest, the man in the middle of the mayhem, the main flounder of comedy sports, Dick Chudnow!
I didn't deserve that.
Yes, you do.
But then I got arthritis, and I don't deserve that either.
He's so sweet. He's like, nobody's going to come see this. Nobody cares. And I said, Dick, you are God to these people. You are the reason we are all here. I mean, literally, you're the reason we're all here.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Dick, you recently celebrated a milestone birthday.
Yeah.
Tell us about that.
I did. I'm 80. And Christine, what does a pirate say when they turn 80?
What, Dick?
Aye, matey. Thank you.
Dick Chudnow. I know you all feel you have to laugh at that. Well, Dick, you're 80 and ComedySportz is
40.
40. Mm-hmm. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
That's congratulations.
1944 and 1988.
That's right. Good job. Dick can do math, people. Tell me, what are you doing in retirement right now?
I'm in the circus.
You're in the circus?
Yeah. No, I am spending most of my time driving people to their hospital and doctor appointments.
You an Uber driver?
No, it's called Interfaith, Ozaukee Interfaith. I live in Ozaukee County.
Okay.
And I drive them to where they got to go. That's taking a lot of the time. And then other than that, I nap. I take a lot of naps. And Jen and I do stuff. Jen's my wife.
Jen's his wife, Jen Rupp.
I have a
Jen
wife.
Rupp.
Hard to believe I have a wife. I do. And she's not here right now.
So I want everyone to imagine they need to go to the hospital right now and Dick pulls up in your driveway. How much fun is that ride
Sometimes they end up there.
Yep.
Yeah.
Sometimes you don't quite make it. Oh my God, Dick. So in our very first episode, the very first one, we talked about how you were flying back from seeing theater sports in Seattle.
Yeah.
And on the plane, the stewardess was flight attendant. I'm not good with the flight attendant was talking about the score of the Packers game.
Yeah.
And then you thought, that's it, sports. I'm going to make this about sports. Talk about the difference between theater sports and comedy sports.
Oh. I saw the theater sports match in Seattle, and it was fun, and they were funny. They were very good. But it wasn't so much a show as an exhibition of improv games. The first half hour, as a matter of fact, was a demonstration of improv games. And they played, like, what are you doing as a demonstration game? They don't play it in the show. They don't ever play that in the show. But they also made fun of the audience, which really bothered me, because they could come to me, and I wouldn't like that. It's not pleasant. People you make fun of in the audience may laugh, but their feelings are hurt. They go home saying, that show sucked, because they're angry.
Right.
They also scenes were overly long. They ended the scenes themselves by the theater thing where they go like that, curtain, and then the scene would end. And so I decided that it's got to be 3 or less.
3 or
four,
less.
Well, 4 or less. Originally it was 3 or less minutes, yeah. But that was on the plane. And then what I did on the plane was list every possible sporting term, every possible sporting term, every possible aspect about sports, and translated that. Because I knew if we did this in Milwaukee, first of all, in Milwaukee, there was no comedy. There was one night a week of stand-up. And I remember telling people we're going to do this comedy show, improv. They didn't know what I was talking about, improv. They thought maybe it was jazz improv, but they had no idea what it was. And they said, it's not going to work. Milwaukeeans don't like comedy. They did say that.
They did.
Yeah, they said, so nobody in Milwaukee laughs. Pretty much no. But I decided that a regular show wouldn't work. It needed to be, because it's a sports town like Buffalo and other cities, it's a sports town, so it has to be a sport.
Yeah.
Not about sports, which we all know, but a sport.
Right.
Yeah, so that's how we got all the terms: AstroTurf, referee, uniforms, field.
Right, so 2 teams with a referee on a playing field.
You've seen the show.
I've seen a few. I've seen a few.
That's great.
I've been in 1 or 2, yeah, that's good. So that all came to you on the plane?
Yeah, that was the rest of my trip, was creating that.
That's fantastic.
That aspect of it, yeah.
That's fantastic.
It sure is,
It sure
Christine.
is. So, well, then how has Comedy Sportz changed from the start until now?
That's an interesting question because it hasn't changed that much. I mean, when we started, we had 12 games. Dubbing, 2 kinds of dubbing, well, 3 kinds of dubbing. One-on-one dubbing, multiple dubbing, and one more where rotating. I dub for you, you dub for them, and they dub for you. That was one game. Changing Emotions was another game.
Forward reverse?
Forward reverse, no.
No?
No, we didn't play forward reverse back then. That was invented by, I don't know who. That was invented, thank you, Pat.
Patrick
That was
Short.
invented by Madison. Pat Short. Pat Short, everybody! I have to concentrate.
I got the 12 games here. Story, what are you doing? Taking the hat, verse, changing emotions, slideshow, 5 things, dubbing, arms, moving bodies, tag team argument, and freeze.
Yeah, and what we used to do is challenge the other team. So we would challenge them to a dubbing game. So we would both play dubbing games. Challenge them to an emotional game. So we would both play some sort of emotional game. And we would play 5 things twice in the show. We would play it at the end of halftime.
One team would play it.
One team would play
And
5 things.
Right.
And then we'd go out for halftime. We'd come back and get an audience member to play 5 things with us. So.
Wow, that's a lot of things, Dick.
Yeah, I know. But it worked for us, and it became clear that the audience was going to be our most important thing.
Yeah.
That was what we paid attention to.
Yeah.
And they're more important to us than the show. It's the audience. And I learned that from Seattle Theater Sports too, that they didn't care that much about the audience. So we used a lot more volunteers.
Okay.
Yeah, we used a lot of volunteers. One show, there was a group from Marquette, and we used all of them. There's like 30 of them. We used them. The game was a parade, and someone suggested Noah's Ark, and so I had them come on as pairs of animals.
Right.
And Noah's Ark and parade across the stage, all of them. It was fun. it was a lot of fun. But yeah, we paid attention to the audience.
Do you
That
think
was key.
audiences have changed at all from the beginning of Comedy Sports till now?
Yeah, I think so. I think they're educated. We used to get a lot of political, suggestions and religious and suggestions, and we decided it's going to offend somebody. No matter what you do, no matter what scene you do, you're going to offend somebody. So we stopped doing those. We had a thing called the suggestion graveyard, where we had a list of
Yes.
suggestions on the wall that you could no longer use. Because it was always Elvis.
Elvis.
And
Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious.
Expialidocious for spelling bee, yeah.
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 I remember we used to have, didn't we have one over there when we first opened here?
No.
The old place.
We were at this is our third place. We were at Cults.
Cults, yeah, and then we were on
at
Jefferson.
126 North Jefferson, and then we're here. This is 2004 since we've been here.
Good job.
Thank you. I'm not dumb.
You're not. What have you noticed about other teams when visiting other cities? Some differences you noticed?
I don't do that as much anymore. That's why this is so great to see other teams play. Each city. Okay, when you go to McDonald's, you expect certain things. You expect matter of fact, we were called the McDonald's of improv by Theater Sports, which I thought, yes.
Wow, really?
Yes, we are.
So you guys are like in a conflict here.
No, not at first, yes.
Yeah?
Yeah. Well, we changed the name from Theater Sports to ComedySportz because they had a tournament in Calgary where they had a Theater Sports, and I wanted to be in the tournament, and so I applied, but they said, no, you can't do it. We don't want you because you're too different. You don't do Theater Sports. So we changed the name and incorporated under ComedySports.
ComedySports.
What
Well,
was
plus
the
we're
question?
funny.
What was the question?
I don't know. I said, what do you
what's
notice
different?
about other teams, other cities when you go to visit?
Each city has its own personality. So they play the same games, the same format, everybody plays, but each city has a different style, which is really interesting. So
Yeah.
you're going to see the same show.
Right.
And these championships are great because you learn things from what other people are doing, like PJ doing his
PJ Rockwell, my wonderful listeners. How awesome is he? Mr. Voice.
He was our announcer early on in Cults. We used to have a guy, Fulvio Paris, who didn't speak much English. And he was our announcer, and he used to introduce us one at a time. We never knew who he was introducing at all. So we just say, you go out, I think that's you. But PJ created the long I couldn't do that longer, but PJ could do it for a minute, and it was amazing.
It was
It
amazing.
really
It was a
fired
great
up the
way
crowd.
to come out.
Yeah.
It just brought the energy to an all-time high when Peach was here. Yeah.
But it's the same show, and you've seen I don't know how many shows you've seen. I've seen about 12
At least.
And you see new games. You see people doing the games differently. What was the game? Rancid Jam.
You're gonna have to explain this one, Dick.
Well, I asked Josh in the kitchen about it, and he said, I think Bella came back to him and said, we need something now, something from the kitchen that's kind of bad, a mixture of stuff. And he put peppers in, pepper, mayonnaise. Just think of something awful that would be awful to drink. And what was each time that they, what? Every time they got a big laugh, they had a drink from this concoction.
No.
And the last player chugged the entire thing.
Was that you?
No.
Someone back there? Did he puke? No, not yet. What city brought this game?
Yeah.
You weirdos.
And last night, Los Angeles, played a game where each new game they substituted one of their players for an audience member.
Nice.
Until the end of the match, it was all
audience members.
Audience members.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah. And stuff like that. Things are they come up with stuff that you go, oh yeah, we got to do that.
Right.
We got to do that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, every year after championship, I remember doing shows then, and it was always new games.
New games workshop. Yeah.
What are we doing? What are we doing? What are we playing now? Well, Las Vegas brought this creepy game.
Well,
we
we would come in to the dressing room.
Yeah.
We didn't call it a green room. It was a dressing room back then, and someone would come in and say, "Hey, I got this new game. It's great. It's called My Uncle's Pants." And we said, how does it go? And they would tell us how it went, and we would play it. We would play it in the show. There was talk about no denial. Whatever they came up with, we would play.
Yeah. Did you? Well, at the start, when you said there were 12 games you started with, and then now, I mean, there's
hundreds of games and variations of games.
Sure, variations of games. But when you were starting, did you guys come up with the new games?
We came up with a lot of new games and variation of the games, yeah.
Okay.
But then we had the high school league, and the high schoolers came up with new games. They had a game they came up with called Scene in Reverse. Did you ever play that?
Yeah.
It's one of the hardest games there is to play.
It is.
You start the scene at the end of it, of course, and then you go back to the first. Yeah. I remember one time in particular, one of the players from one of the teams froze, had a brain freeze on stage. It was totally silent.
Yeah.
And one of his players, for 15 seconds, the guy was silent. And one of the players said, "For the next 15 seconds, I want you to not say anything." And it was amazing.
Well played.
Yeah. Great. They were brilliant. We learned a lot of things from the high school
From the
league.
high schoolers,
Yeah.
sure.
Which is a great way. High school league is a great way of bringing new audiences in.
Yeah,
the
sure.
parents come in and they see the show for the first time.
We got to start up those high school leagues again.
Yeah, we do. We have plans to do that.
Good.
And the summer camp. It ended when COVID started.
COVID. I know. My son, who's now 15, he did the summer camp.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
he did. He was great.
He was great.
Yeah, he was brilliant.
One of his first baby pictures is out in the hallway. 2009 for the team photo. There I am, haven't slept in a month with a newborn baby trying to smile when I was really crying inside. No, but he's 15 now, and he has asked many times, where's the summer camp?
Is he going to play?
He would love to. He should, yes.
We'll audition him.
And my daughter just turned 11. Mayna just turned 11, and she's got a little acting bug too. She was in Annie. Yes, she just performed in Annie at school. Wow. So both kids, all for my kids. I make some pretty good kids.
We don't audition anymore.
No.
We did it first.
Yeah.
We had one audition.
Yes, and I remember, do I remember correctly, Brian Green showed up for the audition.
That's right. Brian Green, who's one of the best players you've ever seen. He's just amazing.
Yeah.
He always has been.
Has he been down here at all this week? Has he been down here this week?
He's coming down. He's going to play the 10
Tonight.
o'clock.
Okay, good.
Yeah, and we're giving awards for the original players.
Nice.
At the 6 o'clock. But he was awful. He was. I was like, this guy,
Did you hear that, Brian Green? I didn't say it.
This guy will never be a player. But but there was something about him. There's a personality and a stage presence that said, yes, let's give him a try.
Yeah.
And he turned out to be amazing.
Well, and he was your first ref, right? The first major ref you guys used
Was
in Milwaukee.
he?
Yeah, that's
I
what.
thought it was Judy Berkowitz.
Well, if we go
It could
back
be,
to-
yeah. It could be Brian.
Yeah, he reffed a lot. And
Yeah.
then who told him? Was it Bob or Angelo told him, you got to stop reffing because you're going to just this is all you're going to do. You're getting so good at
True.
it. So he
I don't know if
stopped
that
reffing.
happens to you guys, but that does happen where someone gets into a reffing mode and they don't play that much.
Then that's all they do.
That's right.
And now he plays. Well,
That's right.
See?
No. Yeah.
How else would you like to play around with the format of the show or bring some new kind of show?
What I would like to do is a show Olympics where, and I think some cities actually do that, where you have certain games, and you play 20 games instead of the 7 that we usually play, or 8. And the games are really quick, and you have to enter the Olympics with a certain category, and there's that competition of who did a better job of what are you doing? Not what are you doing, but like a game where. And this is mainly a toss-up, so that's another thing I want to do. A lot of toss-ups during the show. During the match, you throw in toss-ups, just 30-second things to decide who's going to play what game.
Yeah.
And so you do a toss-up each time before each game. I'd like to do that. One of them is see how many characters you can do in a minute.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So you're there for a minute and you're doing as many characters as you can do. That's my best character. Not good at accents or characters. And then the next player comes up and sees how many characters they can do, and someone from the audience, one of our fans, is counting the number of characters that worked.
That worked.
That work, yeah.
According to that audience member?
That's right.
Oh, boy.
Is something wrong with that?
No, bring the audience in.
Yeah, as much as possible.
As much as possible.
Yeah.
Yeah, not like those theater sports people. Right?
Oh, God,
Yeah. Well, speaking of the Olympics, that's very timely. The Summer Olympics are going on right now.
Yeah.
If we were to turn on the TV and instead of, Simone Biles doing her gymnastics and rocking it, what would the ComedySportz Olympics look like? What would the different games be? Like, there would probably be, like you said, character work.
Physical games.
Physical games.
A lot of physical games.
Yeah.
What are you doing? Forward, reverse.
What are the skills people would be, trying to get a medal in?
For the individual medals?
Sure.
Would be the individual games, the toss-up games, like the one I just mentioned.
Yeah.
Any other, I don't know, I can't think of them now, but the individual games.
Well, like someone could come up and get a medal in puns. It wouldn't be me, but they could get a medal in puns. That's their specialty.
That's right.
Their skill.
Yeah.
So what
Yeah.
else? What other?
You're probably going to ask it later, but my favorite game is instant soap opera. You guys play that?
Explain it for my lovely listeners.
Oh man, that is such a great game because it's so intense, and it's like sit, stand, and lie, where you have 4 players. One player is against the wall, back wall, in a
What was me?
tortured pose.
Yeah.
One player is up front, staring out into space, thinking, and 2 players are facing each other and just having a soap opera conversation. So if one of the players decides to switch, one of the players comes in and gets into the conversation, then that player that was in the conversation has to find a different place. And they may go out here, and that player would have to go back there to the back wall, and you keep switching. What I love about that game is the intensity. When you're doing the conversation, you are laser focused.
Yeah, locked in.
You're locked in. You don't break eye contact. And each game has a point of focus.
Yeah.
If you can find that point of focus for the game, you're going to be successful in that game. And for me, that's the point of concentration, that
Right.
intensity when you're talking to that person. That's my favorite game, and you could win a medal in that.
Sure.
And there's I don't have a list of games in front of me.
Well, not necessarily a game. What would be like a gibberish?
Thank
There you
you.
go. You could win a medal
Thank you.
in gibberish.
Yes.
You could
Do
win
I
a
have
medal
one?
in mime. Object work. You could win a medal in. You could win a medal
Right.
in accents. Right? Did I say what you said? Accents. Yes. Look at you and me are always like this.
Well, also, I think 5 things, but you play it with, instead of these complicated suggestions where you're rowing a boat but the oars are something else and the water isn't water, it's something else. You get fairly easy ones, just 1 or maybe 2 things.
Yeah.
And you have 20 of them and see how many you get. And
How
then
many you get, there you go.
Then the other player gets 20 of them, sees how many he can get.
Yeah.
Or she can get.
Yeah. I think it would be fun to watch the ComedySportz Olympics.
Olympics? Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it would be great.
Yeah, we'd have PJ announcing. It would be super fun. Tell me a game that we could combine in life. Let me give you an example. when I was a kid, my best friend, we were making taco dip. And for some reason, we sang it like an opera the entire time. I'm chopping tomatoes, tomatoes, tomatoes. She's in the background, tomatoes. I don't know why we did it, but we talk about it to this day. We were like 10 when we did it.
Yeah.
What is a game that would be awesome to play in your life?
New choice.
Okay.
It's definitely a new choice. So someone comes up to you and says, "How you doing?" New choice. Yeah, that would be the one.
That would be the one? That would be it? I think it'd be, you are very famous, I remember, for always combining games with marshmallow, the marshmallow game.
Oh, yeah, we had to stop doing that.
Yeah, Can you imagine, though, like, I don't know, anytime somebody lies, they put a marshmallow in their mouth. Imagine the president debate with marshmallows. Every time somebody lies, that would be good.
I'd love to see that, yeah.
That would be good. That would be good.
Yeah.
That would be fun. So you said your favorite game was the kind of like sit, stand, lie.
It is a lot. It's same type of game.
What's your kryptonite? What's the game you're like, nah, I'm not a fan?
I have trouble with accents.
Okay.
So replay is a tough game for me.
Okay.
And I have trouble with, because I'm old, I don't know all the references, like parkour was used in a show last night.
Parkour?
Parkour, P-A-R-K-O-U-R, right?
Parkour.
Right? That
wow.
was that. You know, I wouldn't have known what that is, and then you have to go to your teammates. What's that? The parkour thing. Yeah. So, that.
What style do you love to get in replay, though? What do you want to replay a scene in? What suggestion? Like, not accents, but what would you want to do a replay?
Emotions. That's my favorite.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Emotions, but not accents and not boy bands or...
Boy bands. The suggestion of boy bands.
Oh, we've gotten that.
Yeah?
Yeah.
That would, you just stand around and sing very high-pitched.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, Dick, we really hope we get 40 more years at ComedySportz with you.
That'd be bizarre.
That would be...
Yeah. That'd be absolutely bizarre.
See, they love you.
Yeah.
They love you.
And I hope I stick around for it.
That would be... We'll wheel you out.
120. What am I doing?
That would be the game in life. What am I
Right.
doing? I don't know what I'm doing. Constantly. Well, I want to get Mr. Voice out in the crowd here and take some questions from my loyal listeners. Do they have questions for Dick or the podcast or anything? Anybody got a question? Oh, embarrassing. There we go. Yeah, we got one over here.
What would be your advice for someone that is brand new starting out in ComedySportz?
One of the things that I suggest, and I did for a team last night, that you have to have some point of focus for entering the scene. You have to have a point of focus. Sometimes you just come on and know, well, the conversation is this, and I'll follow the conversation. But if you have a point of focus to get on the field, and one of the things that I recommend is status, so that you know what status you are in the scene, which makes the scene a lot easier. Keith Johnstone, who started Theater Sports, has a book that he wrote. And what's the name of the book, Pat? Impro. And he talks about status a lot. And there's a lot of fun status games that you can play, too. But having some point of focus, accent, emotion, status, those three are the main things that you need to put in your mind before you get on the field. And if you're just starting, I would recommend finding the point of focus for each game, the point of concentration for each game. What is it that I need to focus on for each game? Because you all know that you hear a game, like when I used to play, I used to hear the scene game or a scene game where I don't know, I'm not going to be good in this. And then you're not going to be good if that's what you go in with. But if you find the point of focus for each game, you're going to succeed. And practice. Practice, practice, practice. We're a sport. We really are. I believe that. We are a sport, and I think you do too. And any sport, baseball. Can you go up and play baseball without practice every day? Can you play football without practice? Well, you can't do comedy sports without practicing.
Yeah.
The skills, so you have work, that's what's great about championship, or you get to get all these new skills and you get to concentrate on new skills. And I guess I haven't taken one, but people have been saying that the workshops have been fantastic.
That's great.
So, yeah, that would be my advice. Mainly practice and practice and practice, and get your skills down.
Wonderful. Life lessons from Dick Chudnow. We got some more questions from the audience. Hi,
Dick,
Steph.
where would you like to see the next new Comedy Sports team?
Ooh.
You think about retirement, and I'm fairly busy, but
Driving to
if
the
I was
hospital.
to start a new city, I would start a city that has a population of 500,000 to 1 million. It's rough when you go to a large city like LA, New York, etc. The cities that are most successful are those with that population guideline. The city that I would like to go into our vast breadbasket, like Omaha. I think Omaha would be a great place to start a new comedy sports, and that's where if I was to start a new one, that's where I'd go, and it would spread from there to other cities around there, because it's pretty open. We used to have a city in Fort Lauderdale, and it's very transitory, so people didn't stick around, so that didn't last. But that's another area down in the south. Texas has 4 of them, which is great. And
Wasn't there one in Omaha before?
You're so naive. No.
Okay.
No. I mean, there's been a lot of comedy
cut that,
sports
Kyle.
cities that have failed. There's a request from a city in Israel now to start
Really?
a new comedy sports. Yeah.
A request? You get like the bat phone? Does the Comedy Sports phone go off in your house?
No. They fill out an application.
Really? Okay.
And it goes through a whole process of starting a new city, and the executive council monitors it. And there's one. Wasn't there one from Somalia at one time? I think there was a request. When I started, I didn't have any idea that this would happen. I didn't have a clue, because we were busy from day to day getting everything to work, getting people in the seats. But the ideal that I thought of when we started to expand would be Sandlot Comedy Sports, where anybody can have a team of comedy sports. It's a little league of comedy sports. And the goal of every little leaguer is to eventually be a pro, to enter the pros and go to a city that has it and be on the team. Yeah. So that it's spread all over the country. Everybody knows about it, because you go to Omaha, no one knows what comedy sports is.
Right.
But if it was all over the place in that format, where they can do it, they don't do it well. You have to go to the professionals to see it done well. That originally was something, I have 300 cities. I don't know. That would be some championship.
Right?
300, 17,000 people in Milwaukee.
How many cities are there right now?
25, right, Pat?
Is it 25? Ish.
Yeah.
All right.
20 right now. 25 cities.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Great. Peach, what do we got?
Hi, Dick. What do you miss most about performing?
I just used to enjoy it so much. I mean, I would look forward to performing and getting up here, and I miss most playing with the audience, interacting with the audience during a match. meeting, I used to greet people when they came in, and you'd see someone come in with, you knew that their girlfriend had said, "We're going to ComedySportz," and they come in with it, they're just like, I'll go like that, and trying to make them laugh when they come in by doing bits. We used to do all kinds of bits when people used to come in. I used to host, and I used to love hosting. That was probably one of my favorite things. To get, I used to lead people in, and then you take them up on the field and march them around back there, and then you take them outside again. so they're back in the lobby. We have 2 rooms, so sometimes some people would come in a family. I'd say, "Have you ever seen ComedySportz before?" "No." "Okay, well, come on in." And I take them into the Farina Arena where there's no show, and sit them down. And they're sitting looking around going, why did we come here? And when the show started, I would come in. When the show started here, before the show started here, they got into the show, of course. But about 15 minutes before the show, I'd go on and say, "Well, thank you for coming." "Can I get a suggestion?" And then I do 5 minutes of puns on that suggestion.
Oh, Lord.
And then afterwards, say, thank you for coming. And then I take them into the show.
Then you take him into the show. We got anyone else, PJ?
Hello. What is maybe your most memorable or favorite moment that was chaotic, or something that just went completely off the rails that was just really funny or enjoyable for the audience and the players?
There's a player named Paul Stazak, Paulie
Yeah.
Stazak, who just had the wackiest ideas. And we had a smaller audience. There may have been 30 people there. And he played the game door to door, so that we put ourselves in different rooms. This is so dumb. We put ourselves in different rooms, and the audience would come and be solicitors and knock on the door, and then we would answer the door. And one of our players was the main solicitor, and would solicit something from a suggestion from the audience, and then the player in the room would have to deal with that and do a scene or do a shtick with that suggestion. And the whole audience would go from room to room, 30 people. I love when someone changes up a game, comes up with a new game, like did I talk about the Marquette people and Noah's Ark?
Yes, you did.
Yeah,
And
that
traipsed them all across the
was
stage.
one of my highlights. That
Yeah.
was one of the most fun things we ever did, and they loved it, and it used most of the audience.
Hello. I don't know if you'll have an answer for this one, but I'm just thinking about how we are trying to promote our newer theater and the things we're trying to do and seeing what sticks. Have you ever tried something that was it fell flat on its face, or it was an epic fail, and you're like, why did we do that? Just in terms of promoting your business, promoting
You want to
ComedySportz.
promote your business.
Yeah.
We never advertised.
Never.
Oh.
We never advertised. We may have, not even early on, we didn't advertise. No one advertised. But what we did do was give everybody, not everybody, the volunteers a pass to come back. And they usually bring back 2 people, or they bring back somebody else. So that's one way to do it. A high school league is absolutely the best way of getting new people into the audience, and same thing with the summer camp. And it's easy to run a summer camp. Then you'd probably have to, get some kind of announcement out to let people know you have this summer camp, and go to YMCA's or wherever and put a notice up. And that's how we That's how we farted. I said that. And thank you.
Well, but think about that. I mean, 1984, right? There was no internet, there was no social media,
Right.
and you didn't advertise and look at this empire that you have created.
Well,
I mean,
yeah, our first shows, we had to pull someone in from the street. We went to a guy who just was hanging around. We said, "Hey, you want to see a show?" And he said, "Oh, yeah."
Okay.
And he said, "Oh, sure." And He came in and watched the show, and Judy Berkowitz was reffing, and this guy would stand up in the middle of the show and tell us a joke. He thought that was what you did.
The audience member?
The guy that was the one guy.
The one guy.
We did a show our first show was pretty much for one guy. But then my family members came.
Okay.
And the family members brought other people that they knew, friends that they knew. So family members are huge,
Right.
coming in and seeing the show. And if you got a good show, they're going to go out and tell people about it. And they've never seen that format again, ever. They've never seen that format. They've never seen that type of show. So it's brand new. And if the show, when you start off, you have problems. It's hard to do really great shows, but they like the format. If they don't like the show, they like the format. Definitely don't do what we did. If we had a bad show, we would go out, greet people in the audience and say, that show wasn't so good. And so sorry. Don't do that. Don't do that. Pretend every show was great. I would, I don't know if you have lines of players when they leave the match saying goodbye to everybody, ending out that high. And it really feels good for audience members to get that last greeting as they leave. I would do that also. Invite radio station people to come see the show. After we had our first review, it didn't immediately affect audiences and the size of audiences, but there's a residual effect after they see a couple things. I hear that you're supposed to see 3 forms of advertising, either an ad in the paper or something on the radio, word of mouth. And that'll bring you into the show. If they just hear 1, they may come to the show. But if they hear 3, and then they might come. But word of mouth is the key thing. Having that great show.
All right, Pete.
Hi. So you're teaching us a lot about comedy sports right now. I know I've only been for less than a year a part of ComedySportz, so I'm certainly learning a lot. But what has the biggest lesson or the most profound lesson that ComedySportz has taught you?
Oh. I like that.
It has to be listening skills. That's key for my life. I'm not good with names. I'm not good with names either. But the listening skill aspect of ComedySportz was the one thing. And then playing, always playing. Playing at the grocery store. I once went to the grocery store and how people are behind you and they have 2 items. Says, can I go ahead of you? I said, yeah, sure. And then I let everybody go ahead of me, just one after another. They just kept on going. Go ahead. Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead. So having a sense of play is one of the most important things you can do for your life, I think.
I love it.
Never ending that. Never giving that up. Never.
That's important.
Stop playing.
Yeah, I love it. Love it. Yep, Mr. Voice.
Dick, first off, thank you. Thank you for everything. And you know how you hear, you turn right, you turn left, things are different. Life is different. What do you think would have happened if you didn't see that theater sports that night?
If I did see him again?
If you didn't see theater sports that night, what would your life have been if that hadn't happened?
I think I don't know, I'd be dead. I used to live in L.A. I was living in L.A., and I had to leave L.A. because my lifestyle was such that, no, I couldn't keep doing this. Chris Keene was key to starting us in theater sports. His father died and had a wake at the Colts restaurant in the green room. And he taught us some games, some theater sports games, before we started theater sports. And we saw these games and went, like, what are you doing? We were just, man, that's a great game. That's great. And then when we started doing the show, we started doing some of the games he taught us. So he's
at
really
a funeral?
Yeah, we did best scene with a dead person.
Yeah. Yeah, hesitation, you're out of there. You know?
Yeah. So yeah, I had been working at a scrap iron metal yard before I started it, and doing improv classes for people. And the first 10 people that showed up for an improv class are the 10 people that I ended up using for the show. And two of them had never been on stage before, but those were the first 10. So those are the 10 that I used in the show. You know, there's one guy, I won't mention his name, but he's a funny guy, but his idea of improv was say the first thing that comes to mind, whether it has anything to do with the scene or not.
Oh, Lord.
It trained us to be good because we had to improvise around him. You know, so it really sharpened and honed our skills to have this guy in the.
We've all played with that person, and you're like, why are you here?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's hard.
Yeah.
But you're right, it helps, right?
Oh, yeah.
Gets you working?
Yeah, to adjust to whatever comes up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Way in the back there.
I just wanted to ask, since we had a lot of workshops that were from short form to long form, did you ever do long form or do anything with ComedySportz that involved long form?
Actually, no. We did workshops. Yeah, we do long form and workshops. And
well, we had that show, Courtroom, which I guess is kind of,
yeah.
I mean, right? I mean, it's a format of a different show.
A different format. Courtroom was a show where we would take trivial cases. Like one family was suing their dad because he made them rush to go out of the house, and they were suing him. So we had lawyers that seriously, asked questions about, well, how late were you? How did it manifest, et cetera. We asked them a lot of questions. We had a judge,
a bailiff, the
bailiff,
lawyers,
a courtroom artist.
Nice.
And we would do stuff like recreate the scene. So if the problem is being late, we would create that. One lawyer would create the scene of the father being a tyrant.
Yeah.
The other team, the defendant, or the what are they called?
Plaintiff.
Yeah, plaintiffs would do a scene that was completely different. That the father was, hey, could you guys come? Take your time. Take your time. So we'd act out those scenes.
Yeah.
And it was very successful.
It was.
It was
great.
a problem getting people to get the cases. We had to have someone full time getting cases. One case was boyfriend threw a potato chip at her, and so she sued him, and won.
And won.
Yeah, she won.
I'll never do that again.
The weird thing is about the show was that you really wanted to win. It wasn't, we don't care if we want to win, but to care if we lose. That was another thing about theater sports. They really cared. They really cared if they won or lost.
Really?
It was a celebration at the end, giving the player of the show an award. But in this game, you really wanted to win. You were a lawyer, and that's all that's important is winning.
Yeah.
Yeah, obviously. Yeah.
Got any more
Did I
to say?
answer your question?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the best you're going to get.
You wanted to know if we did long form. You wanted to know if we did long form in ComedySportz. So we never did long form for a ComedySportz show, extended scenes, etc. But in workshops, we work on long form. Yeah.
Yeah. I also just wanted to know if you yourself did long form.
If what?
If you did it, did you do long form?
Oh yeah, I took classes with Del Close, and who hated ComedySportz, and Paul Sills, who just hated people. He if you weren't doing it right, according to him, he would say, "Get off stage, get off." He actually threw a chair at someone. John Bank threw a chair in because he was clowning and wasn't doing improv. He's Viola Spolin's son. I don't know if you know of him. You know Viola Spolin?
Yeah.
Yeah. She originated theater games, pretty much, and her partner. And it's a funny story, as far as I'm concerned, that we were in L.A., and I knew that Viola Spolin lived in L.A. in the Hollywood Hills, and I said to my partner at the time, David Zucker, I said, hey, you want to go visit Viola Spolin? And he said, sure. So I called her up.
Nice.
I found her
You just called
number
her?
in the phone book, called her up. Can we come up and visit? And we went up. She said, sure. She came up and went up and
She
visited
never met
her.
you, didn't know who you were. Sure, come on over.
Yeah, she did. I told her we were doing a show.
Oh, okay.
We were doing.
Not just some random strange man on the phone.
We were
Can I
doing
come see
Kentucky
you?
Fried Theater. Yeah, we were doing Kentucky Fried Theater in L.A. And we went up there, and she was very nice and everything. And we were very proud of doing some improv in a Kentucky Fried Theater show, which was a short form, pretty much sketch show. Like Kentucky, it was turned into a Kentucky Fried movie. But finally, conversation got around to me saying, you know, we do changing emotions in our show, and she had some stuffed mushrooms that she gave us. She threw the mushrooms down, said, nobody's paying me for my games. I made up these games and no one's paying for me. And we kind of crept out of the house backwards, and because we thought she'd say, oh, that's nice.
She was not happy about it.
No, she's not happy about it.
You ever talk to her again?
No, never.
No, that was it?
Yeah. But like I say, I took the workshop from her son, who was a great workshop teacher. He was fantastic and did a lot of long form.
All right. Last question here, Mr. Voice.
Hey, Dick. Thanks again for doing this for all of us. I mean, all of it, but especially this hour. I wanted to know, when it comes to folks that you work with, maybe give us some advice, folks that you work with, basically folks that have lost the fun and are taking things way too seriously and have kind of lost the narrative of what comedy sports is. How would you say we should interact with them, work with them, and then maybe bring them back to the dark side of just having fun and enjoying themselves?
We've had that. That's happened. I remember Kurt Scholler, who's a fantastic performer, one of the best, came up to me and said, I no longer can do this. I'm not funny. I don't feel it. Yeah.
Wow.
I don't feel it. And I said, take 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And don't play. Don't make yourself available for shows.
Yeah.
Just sit out, and you'll want to come back, and you'll want to play. And that's exactly what happened. So that was our way of dealing with it. You always have, in your troupe, you may have someone who's a rotten apple in the troupe. Just raise your hand.
If you're the rotten apple.
Eventually, they're going to sour the whole barrel, and they have to be fired. And that's really, really tough. And you have to document why and all that stuff. Yeah, we've had a couple of those. And when they were gone, the whole atmosphere changed. And we're fortunate now to have the best crew we've ever had in comedy sports, where everybody is so positive and gets along with each other, doesn't badmouth. You know, they used to sit out, some people used to sit out at the bar and go, why are we doing this way? And we should be doing this and that. And we go, yeah. And then conversations on the bus on the way to, you probably heard this, on the way to remotes.
Oh, in the van?
In the van. They badmouth.
Oh, a lot of bad mouthing.
Yeah. And they're gonna ruin your troupe.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
it's toxic.
If they're toxic, get rid of them. If they're just, they kind of lost the thread and, you know, don't feel it anymore, tell them to take 3 weeks off. Just don't make yourself available.
Sounds good. Thanks for my wonderful audience. Were there one last one? Did you have one? Oh, we do.
Hi, Dick. Long-time listener, first-time viewer.
Yeah, I know.
Thank you.
I'm curious, because comedy sports has gone back so far. In the early days, it was hard to describe to anyone just what improv was. I was curious, if someone were to ask you what ComedySportz was or what we did, what would the description be like back in 1984, 1988 versus what you would tell someone today? Because now people know what improv is.
Right.
Well, that's fun.
Right. Basically, you end up telling them you have to see it. They don't get it. You can't explain it to them that there's a referee, there's AstroTurf, there's 3 players on our 4 or 5 players on the side, there's uniforms, we have penalties, and that's what gets them interested.
The sports format.
The sports format.
Yeah.
See, then we have penalties, and explain the Groner foul and explain the brown bag foul, and they go, oh, it's clean. That's great.
Mm-hmm.
And we use the audience for suggestions. We sometimes get audience volunteers. Well, we always do. I wish every show you get audience volunteers. Mm-hmm. That's important. And we use audience volunteers every once in a while, so you can volunteer. It's clean. You don't have to worry about that. So basically, you explain the basics. They won't really get it. But if you have all the frills of volunteers and audience participation, we don't insult anybody. That's really key. Mm-hmm. That's the way I explain it. I go on and on. I mean, it's not just a minute conversation. I go into some of the games we play. Like, there's this one game that we play and do this and this and this and this, and then they're bored, and then they'll just come. And then I give them a pass. I always have passes on me. Always. And if they ask about ComedySportz, I give them a pass. I give them passes if they don't ask about ComedySportz, to get people into the show. But yeah, always have passes in your group and give them to everybody and tell them to pass them out. Get people into the show. Mm-hmm. They're very grateful for that. But yeah, it is hard to explain exactly what it is. And usually you use the line, have you ever seen Whose Line Is It Anyway?
Right.
It's like that, but it's a real competition.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Thank you to my wonderful listeners.
Thank you.
Dick, I always like to end the episode with some Would You Rather questions. I don't know why I find them fun. So I'm just going to pull one out here. Oh, no, that one's dirty. Would you rather have a small butt on your forehead or 2 little feet dangling beneath your chin?
Small butt on my forehead, easier to wipe.
I don't know how we could end otherwise, Dick. Thinking of you wiping your forehead. My wonderful audience, Mr. Dick Chudnow!
Thank you for doing this. Thank you so much. I love you guys. Thank you. I'll see you around.
The ComedySportz Podcast is produced and engineered by Kyle Hanneken. Our announcer is PJ Rockwell. Feel free to like us on Facebook and follow us on Instagram. Comments and inquiries can be sent to the ComedySportz Podcast at gmail.com. Created and hosted by me, Christine Rollo Capriolo. Catch you next time.
The ComedySportz Podcast is an independent production made by CSz players. The views and opinions expressed by the podcast host and any guests are their own and do not represent the views and opinions of any CSz location or CSz Worldwide. Vocabulary used by the host and guests is not necessarily representative of the CSz brand.